we'll go and get started in the interest of time today, because I have a lot of what I hope is very useful content for you. So if you're still coming in, feel free to go ahead and chime in on the chat there and let other folks know where you're coming in from, appreciate it. Appreciate you joining me today. This is the second series in my 5-part series today of Back to Basics. And so this is, of course, designed for if you are joining me again for the second time, I appreciate you coming back. If you are a newcomer to us, I appreciate you being here today. And hopefully you like this content enough that this is not the last one that you attend out of this series. Again, this is Tuesday in March from 12 to 1. We'll be covering some different basic topics with professional development. And this series really is designed for folks who have been working for a little bit, but maybe you're feeling a little bit rusty on some of these topics and you feel like you just want to refresh your course on it. So today, excuse me, sorry, this sunshine is beautiful, but it's also very allergy inducing. So we will be covering a lot of LinkedIn stuff today. We'll be doing a bit of a deep dive. And so we'll be talking about the profiles. And so if you have a profile and you feel like you need a refresher on it, or if you don't have a profile yet and you're wondering what in the world should I be doing with this, this would be good for you. We will also be talking about using LinkedIn for networking and connecting, as well as job search. Excuse me. Just a couple notes here. If you do have questions for me throughout the session, which I hope you do, please go ahead and use that Q&A function down at the bottom versus the chat. That just helps me to not have to look in two places. It helps me to keep track of the questions that you guys have coming in. Usually this does garner a lot of questions because LinkedIn is a pretty robust site and it's really useful. And just as another point of, just a point to note, I will be sending all of these slides out afterwards, and we will have a link to the recording. My sound is very low. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna try to turn that up. Thank you for letting me know. I will send out a link to the recording afterwards to make sure that everyone can view it if you missed anything. So I will go ahead and get into what we have for you. If you have joined me in the past for webinars, this is not unfamiliar for you, but if you are new to us and you are a graduate of the institution, I did want to let you know what you have access to here. So the great news is you have career services free for life, which is awesome. Not a lot of institutions do that. So it's a really nice benefit that you have. And along with that comes one-on-one career advising. So if you are interested in chatting with a career advisor one-on-one, I am your person. So you can reach out to me. You can either send me an email to get started, or you can log on to Spider Connect, which the link is down there in that little yellow bubble. And if you're wondering, Becca, I have no idea what Spider Connect is. Everything at the university is named with Spider in it. That is a system that we use in career services to schedule appointments and do some other stuff that's really helpful for us. But for you, it's probably most useful for scheduling an appointment. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about that you see over there. Really runs the gamut with professional development. So no matter what place you're in, if you feel like you want to have a one-on-one chat with me, please reach out. I would love to catch up. A lot of other resources that you have over there. The one that I will point out to you is the UR Alumni Relations YouTube page, and you can find them there for all of my content from the past, as well as content that the Alumni Relations team has done. And it's a lot of really fun content too. Mine tends to be more informational and theirs is fun and more social in nature. But you can find all of that on YouTube, and it's a really great resource. So we will go ahead and dive in. And usually what I'll do is I will go through a few slides and then I'll have time for questions. So if you have questions, you can feel free to pop them in the Q&A there, and we will get to them throughout the presentation. You don't feel like you have to save all of them for the end. So of course, I wanted to start off with profile basics. So of course, you know, if you feel like you need to refresh your profile, or if you have not started one, but you are thinking about it and really want to, this would be good for you. So the first thing I always say about profiles is just don't let your content get stale. Because recruiters certainly use LinkedIn quite a bit. And if you are applying for jobs through LinkedIn or not, or if you're not using that for applications, there's a decent chance that they're going to look you up on LinkedIn anyway. If you are using LinkedIn for job search, they will definitely be wanting to visit your profile. So just make sure that your content is up to date, that you have the most recent job listed there, and some responsibilities that you have with it, those kind of things. So just making sure that that's the case. And plus, here's some other networking content, some other networking contacts that you have might look you up on LinkedIn as well. I know for me, if I'm planning an event and I'm sourcing alumni to be participants in an event that I'm doing, I will very much look them up on LinkedIn first, just to see what they have going on, and if that's a way that I can try to contact them. So just a word to the wise: make sure that that's up to date. And this doesn't have to be a weekly thing that you do. It can be, every month or two. Just make sure you check, and if things are good, right? The other thing here is to know with profiles, when you are either updating your profile or if you're creating one, in terms of using the web, like how recruiters use the website, the keywords that you have in your profile drive their searches and how you pop up in their search results, right? So really all this is talking about is when you have when you use sort of industry jargon or keywords and phrases that are relating to the jobs or roles that you're interested in, right? It makes sense, because searches nowadays, especially when recruiters do searches on LinkedIn for possible candidates, it's all based on algorithms. Those algorithms are going to be picking up on keywords and phrases that are related to those positions they're hiring for. So if you are using LinkedIn for these purposes, it's a really good idea to make sure that your profile is peppered with and includes those kind of things that are relevant and important to the jobs that you're seeking. You're more likely to get picked up by recruiters and be scouted by them on LinkedIn, as well as being matched with jobs in that job search tab. Pictures and tagline, I always start with this with profiles, because this is the first thing that a recruiter or anybody else that looks you up on LinkedIn is going to see. So I put down here, Beth is actually my supervisor. I know she wouldn't mind that I used her in here. She also has a really good profile. And I think her pictures are great. And her tagline, I call it a tagline. Other people might not. That's the one down there. The picture that you see says career coach, facilitator, and so on. These are seen first, right? So if you either pop up in a search that a recruiter is doing for a certain role, they want to try to target candidates that, match certain keywords and whatnot for them. These are the first things they're going to see about you. So make sure that they're eye-catching and make sure that they're relevant to what you want, right? Background photos, I think there's still some debate on that. I think that they're good, right? Because it sort of rounds out your profile. I think mine is a picture of a fountain, just something sort of nondescript that's not distracting or overwhelming. And just make sure that your actual profile picture is, not obviously cropped, professional looking. It doesn't have to be done. You don't have to pay for it to be professional, right? You can still get, and the great, thing with cameras is that on our phones is that they're really wonderful these days. You can get some great pictures on your phone for free. The other thing to think about here with your profile is, who is your target audience and what should they know about you, right? Make sure that information is included and peppered throughout there. A couple things just with the experiences section. Throughout this slide and the next one, there's just a couple sections that I'll be highlighting. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in terms of sections with LinkedIn and what you can put in there. And it just sort of depends on what is relevant to you and what you are bringing to the table, right? So in terms of experiences, because the order that your profile goes in, this is going to be after the about or summary section, experiences is the first thing they see about you. What I always like to remind people is experiences do not have to be paid positions, especially for, if we have any undergrad students on here, or if you just, you've not been in the workforce for a terribly long amount of time, and maybe you have some, leadership positions or internships that were really great, and you really showcase a lot of your skills from, you can still put them in experiences. It doesn't have to be paid work, okay? Thinking about, again, what's relevant for you, your skills, and what you're bringing to the table for those roles that you're looking for, put that in there, right? Because with experiences, you can then put in descriptors of those roles, and you can showcase, like with a leadership position or internship, you can showcase the great skills and the responsibilities that you had for those roles. So just know that that's experience is a little bit more open. One question I get a lot is, should I put a description with the experiences that you list? The tough thing about LinkedIn in general is that there's no black and white rules to it, really, right? There's no, you have to do this or you don't do this. If you take a sample of 25 profiles, you will get almost invariably, you will get 25 different ways of doing things. When people ask me, should I put a description with them? Because you'll see people who don't list anything. If LinkedIn is the first way that somebody gets to know you, which it can often be that way, what do you want them to know about those experiences? And so should you be putting a description? I think that's the question you should ask yourself. I think usually for most people, the answer is yes. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to write them a novel, right? But maybe put in like the most important things that you've done, the most important accomplishments for those roles and whatnot, right? But I think it's still a really important question to think about. I always tell people, work smarter, not harder for yourself when it comes to building your experiences section. So if you've got really good content that you've written in the bullet points of your resume, use that, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. Use what you have on your resume, or if you want to tweak it a little bit for LinkedIn, that's totally fine too. And the other thing to know is with your experiences, they give you a really great option to upload all kinds of visual media to any particular experience. So I think on some of mine, like I've linked articles that I've written or places where I've been quoted. You can put PowerPoints, you can link videos and pictures. This really gives a great visual representation of that particular experience and your skills for the reader, right? And so it allows them to get more context, and it just gives a lot more sort of credence, I guess, behind your story, right? We love visual things nowadays. So I think this is a really great option for a lot of people. The last thing that I will note over here on this slide is if you are going to be putting your LinkedIn URL on, say, a business card or in the contact information on your resume, definitely go ahead and personalize that, right? Because otherwise, the standard URL that you'll get, it has a bunch of random letters and numbers after it, and it just is not really that visually appealing. So if you just go to your profile, and then on the top right there, you'll see a link that says edit public profile and URL. Go ahead and click that, and you can change the last part of it. So it just looks really nice and tidy when you put it somewhere. Okay, so after this slide, we'll have time for questions. So thank you for that, for the person that submitted that question. Just a couple more things that I wanted to note about profile basics here. The other question that I get a lot is, do I have to do that summary section? I think they used to call it summary. It's called about now. Again, I think this is a place where you should ask yourself, what do you want or need the reader to know? And is this important for you? Because again, if you look at a lot of different profiles, you'll get all manner, right? Some people will write you 4 paragraphs. Some people will put 2 sentences in there. Some people will put 0 things in their about section. So just thinking about what is it that you want that reader to know. This is just a sample from mine. I just wanted to sort of like let you guys see how I broke it down. Spoiler alert, I was inspired by another profile to do it this way. You don't have to be the one that create something brand new unless you want to be here. And that's the other thing with profiles that I always recommend is that take a look at some samples of people that you admire or people that you aspire to be like, and see if anything there is really clicks with you, and make that your own, right? I am an assessment dork. First, I will definitely be admitting that to you. And in my particular industry, the Clifton Strengths Finder is something that a lot of people know about, so it's recognizable, right? So it's a conversation starter for us. But what I started with in mine was the why, right? Why am I in this industry? Because I think that's something that hiring managers often are curious about, because no hiring manager wants to hire somebody who's mediocrely, sort of interested, in the industry that they're applying for. So I put a little bit of why in there for me. I said a little bit about my qualifications, in terms of like what I bring to the table. And then for me, particularly given what I am looking at, excuse me, I included some additional information there just about like technologies that I was familiar with, because some of these are really recognizable within my industry. So you can take this in a lot of different directions. The about section, focusing on maybe a little bit of a history, like how did you get into this industry you're interested in, especially if you're a career changer. I think this would be a really great place to pepper in not only your transferable skills that you bring to the table, but you also should be talking about why, right? Like if you're, looking to change from one seemingly, if you're looking to change between industries that are seemingly quite different, explain that to them, bridge the gap for that reader, and tell them why you're making that transition and why you're qualified for it. If you want to, some people like to give people, readers a clear idea of like what they should be doing next. So, like I'm really looking to connect with people in the industry, or, I'm open to work, actively seeking a job or using it for networking purposes. And above all, just make sure that it's catchy and it hooks your audience in a really meaningful way. A couple of the things here too, just to note, the skills section. So if you scroll down a little bit in your profile, you will see a section there that says skills. So a couple things to note with that really quickly. You might look in there and see a bunch of things that you think, I would never have listed that as a skill. I've never done that. Where did that come from? I've looked at my profile before and I've been very confused. So what happens is, like, say if I were to like look at my supervisor, Beth, if I were to look at her profile, one of the things that would pop up at the top of her profile when I view it is a recommendation for me to endorse her for skills, right? So this is going to be powered by the system. Most people, because that's not really what they're going to people's profiles for, they're just going to click through. And so you might be getting endorsed for things that you don't necessarily want to be, or you're like, I literally have no experience in that. That doesn't need to be on my profile. So you can go down to that skills section in your own profile and edit that, right? You can add in things that you are skilled at. You can take out things that you don't want to be endorsed for. So just know that's something, and that isn't the most important thing on your profile, but it certainly is helpful, because again, with the way that LinkedIn works with algorithms, it all goes into recruiters when they search for you and the keywords and things that pop up. The other thing about profiles that I want to mention here too is recommendations. And that's sort of more towards the bottom of your profile. This is definitely not a must do, but I think especially for those of us who are using it for job searching, Pieces, if you're heavily on there for job search and you're driving people to your profile, recommendations are a great thing to think about having. A couple things here to note about those: make sure that it's mutual. So if you're going to ask somebody for a recommendation on LinkedIn, make sure that you offer to return the favor. Right? Make it an offer, not a, okay, well, if you do this for me, I'm definitely going to do this for you. Some people might not. Some people are just happy to do the favor for you. But I think that's a really great way to, again, just put some context to your story, and it has other people talk about your skill sets, right? And when you think about who do you ask for recommendations, you can certainly think about a variety of people in your professional life. So either, former or current supervisors, people, if you have enough work experience where you've supervised people, think about having some of those folks that have reported to you in the past, or some lateral colleagues, or maybe clients that you've worked with in the past that can speak to your ability to do that kind of work, right? So there's a lot of people you can ask, and just make sure that it's, I think variety is the spice of life when it comes to this too. So we see we have a couple questions, which is great. Perfect timing. So the first question says, where is the best source to get an idea of what keywords recruiters searches key off of? Other profile, something else. Yeah. So I think one of the best ways to sort of suss that out would be, if they're, depending on what kind of roles you're going after. So I'm just going to use like the HR field, human resources, just because it's something that I know more of than others, right? And so looking at, if there are particular roles within HR that you're looking at continuously, like HR coordinator or HR generalist or something like that, when you're probably going to find sort of keywords and phrases and skills that are really important to those roles. You can start there with those. So just, I think just looking through job descriptions in general might be really helpful for figuring out what sort of keywords are going to be important for that. So hopefully that's helpful, Eric. Another person asked, do we need to consider keyword searches in LinkedIn profiles like we do on our resume? Yeah, I mean, I would say it's essentially the same thing. Yeah, so it's sort of the same, where you would want to make sure that, stuff within your profile is linking with and sort of reflecting what those jobs are asking for that you're going after. And last one here, do you recommend paying for LinkedIn Premium? I'm laughing because every time I do this webinar, I get this question. Okay, so the thing with LinkedIn Premium, I think it's like $35 a month. All right. I will talk a little bit about my personal experience with it, because I've sort of gone like off and on with LinkedIn Premium. And I think it depends on what you want to get out of it, right? If you're using LinkedIn for job search, personally, and again, this depends on how you use the premium features, right? Personally, when I was job searching heavily a few years ago, LinkedIn Premium was like interesting for me, but it was not a game changer. Okay. It was interesting for me because with LinkedIn Premium, at least with the job search, like you can see much more specifically who actually is looking at your file. So if you are really interested, like if you think that you're going to be able to effectively use the knowledge of who's looking at your profile, it might be helpful. Other features with LinkedIn Premium is something we'll talk about in one of the last slides that I have today, which is LinkedIn Learning, which is a really great sort of like online video tutorial platform that covers a wide range of subjects. But again, it just depends on how useful you would find that. The other thing with LinkedIn Premium, which again, it just sort of depends on your purposes with this, is the in-mail function. So for any user of LinkedIn, even if you have the free version, like the majority of people do, you can use the messaging platform, right? But InMail is it's a messaging platform within LinkedIn that allows you to directly message somebody outside of your first degree network without having to connect with them, right? So if you're a free user like I am, if I want to connect with an alumni of University of Richmond to ask them a question or ask them to participate in something, I send them a connection request along with a message, right? But the InMail allows you to you don't have to necessarily be connected to somebody. You can just message them through InMail and try to get a conversation started that way. So hopefully that's helpful. I think also with LinkedIn Premium, the thing too is that you can do a free trial. So you can definitely, try it out for a few weeks, and then just make a little note to yourself on your calendar. If you don't like it, just cancel it before they're going to charge you for that next month, and see if it's helpful for you. Okay, so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about sort of networking and connecting with people on LinkedIn. So we'll be going through a couple different ways that you can use this platform to either identify and connect with people. I will say that for the way that I view it, and I think this is a good way to think about LinkedIn in terms of using it for networking, is that it's a really great means to an end, right? It's tough now because we're all still pretty much in a virtual environment and will be for a bit longer, until we can sort of expect like the sort of the networking events that we knew of days past to come back. So this is a really good, I still think it's a good means to an end. And what I mean by that is it's a good way to find people that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise find, connect with them, and then move that conversation and that relationship building piece to, at least right now, like either to a phone conversation or a video conference, right? Because that's really where you're building meaningful relationships. Because otherwise, if you're just connecting with people on LinkedIn, what are you getting out of that, right? So I think first of all, thinking about, who are you looking for on LinkedIn? Why do you want to connect with them? Next week, I am doing, my webinar is focusing on networking. And so I'll be doing a little bit more of a deep dive into networking in general. That might have some helpful hints for you on this. But the first thing that I want to talk about here, because most, if not all of us on this webinar today are affiliated with the University of Richmond, this is their alumni search tool, is sort of their hidden gem, I think. And I'm going to do a little demonstration here for you. So we are going to, there we go. So I want to bring this up and show you. So this is really great. So all you have to do to be able to, this is essentially a searchable database that you have access to on LinkedIn. I think this is a really great feature because most people are more likely to update their LinkedIn profile with their current work information than they are anything else. So what you can do is just in your search bar, I've already pulled it up here, but type in University of Richmond and you'll get this page, right? They use this page for a lot of different stuff for the university, news and jobs and whatnot. But for you want to click on the Alumni tab here. And this is where it's going to pull up. So it's, again, based on algorithms within the system, it's going to pull up all the profiles that have University of Richmond listed in their education section. And it's going to give you some tiered search options, which is primo. I love this. And so you are going to get categories, 6 categories. So geographic location, you're going to get specific company names, so where they work, their industry type, what they studied, which could be interesting depending again on looking for, their skills, and then how you're connected. So you can look at the second degrees, which is the friends of the friends, and be able, you could ask those first degree connections for an introduction to the second degree, and you'd be some really interesting results that you could get. What I love about this is that so again, I said it's tiered. So, if you are looking within a certain area, so let's just say that you want to maybe stay in Richmond, or you come back to Richmond because Richmond is such a great city. So what it's going to do is it's going to resort all of those other 5 categories based on the Richmond profiles. And this is where it can get really fun if you like looking at this kind of information, and really interesting for you. And so if you are looking at certain industries, you can look over here. Say if you want to look at HR. So now you're looking at the Richmond Human Resources profiles. And if you scroll down here, these are going to be your results, right? How cool is this? I love this feature. I think it's really interesting. I use this for a lot of purposes in my own role here at the university, but I think, if you are either job searching, and looking to connect with, so say, for example, if you're looking to connect with, okay, let me see if it'll come back up. If you are looking to connect with people in a specific organization, say like an employer, a specific employer in Richmond, you can look at that employer and see, see who you might be connecting with there. The other thing that I really like about this too is that it's a keyword search. And so if you maybe are in, let's do Richmond again. If you're maybe in an industry that's not really listed in the given options here in this feature, you can do a keyword search, right? So say if you're interested in Richmond area and you want to look at Dominion, right, and make some connections, either because you've applied for a job there, you're looking at jobs there very seriously, or you just want to start doing some networking to figure out what Dominion is all about. You can try it for those purposes as well. And then the thing that I like about the results is that you can very quickly look at their titles and sort of be able to see, like, okay, do I want to connect with them? Right? You can either look at their profile for a bit more information, or you can hit this connect button. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but you definitely want to add a note to that and tell them why you're interested in connecting. So that is the Find Alumni feature, which I absolutely love. The other thing too to note here is that this couple bullet points down, you can also search in that search bar for University of Richmond Robbins School of Business, which will give you those folks, and also for the School of Professional Continuing Studies, which will give you a bit more specificity there. So like I said, there's a lot of things that you can do with this search option, which I really love. It depends on what you're using this for. If you are a younger student joining me today, you can think, if you're interested in, like, okay, I'm majoring in this thing at the university and I don't really know what people with this major do. Using that search option there is a really great way to just sort of get a good sample of what are people doing with a psych major or whatever that major is. You can also look again at top industries in different locations, and you can do some really targeted company searches. So I hope you guys play around with that a little bit. It's probably one of my favorite features. The other thing to note with finding people, because that's not the only way, of course, because there are plenty of other people outside of the University of Richmond network who can be really helpful to you, although it is really always great to talk to a spider. You can search by company. So again, depending on what you're interested in doing, like most people who are doing job search, this is probably one of the ways that they're going to try to connect with people. So again, you can, in that search bar that we looked at, you can just type in the company name, find their company page. And then if you navigate here over to the people tab, that green highlighted, it'll give you the same search options as we just saw with Find Alumni. So it'll give you those 6, like the geographic location, what they studied, that kind of stuff. And you can again search through either first degree or second degree connections and try to find helpful people at that organization to connect with. The other thing here too that you can do is by groups. So if you're in certain groups, either based on your industry, your targeted industries, or professional associations that you might be involved with. Like I know a lot of Richmond folks that work in HR or desire to be in HR are, somehow they might be affiliated or involved with the Richmond Society of Human Resource Management, SHRM. So, the groups are a really great way to, again, connect with like-minded people. But in the end, really just make sure that they're purposeful connections for you. You have a reason, because this leads me into the next slide, but I frequently get connections from people, especially from my own alma mater, which I love very dearly. But they give me no reason why they want to connect. So like, even if you're attending this webinar, or you've attended stuff in my past, stuff that I've done in the past, just give me a little reminder, because I might not always recognize the name or remember where we met. And it's the same, that's true for everybody else. If you've met somebody at a virtual event, or if you want to, again, connect with alumni, just remind them how you met, or if you haven't actually met and it's sort of a cold call, quote unquote, tell them why you're interested in connecting with them, right? So is it that you want to learn more about what they do in their industry, or are you reaching out because you've applied for something at their company and you would love to know more about that organization, right? Whatever that is, make it personal, give them a little who, what, and why. If you were referred to them by anybody, this is a great place to mention, hey, Gretchen highly recommends that I reach out to you. So again, when you, if you remember when we were navigating through the alumni search feature, when you hit that connect button, it doesn't automatically send that connection request yet. You're going to get this little top left box that I have here that says add a note. Do that. Because if you were to hit the blue done button, that's going to automatically send that connection request to them. And it's going to have the very standardized message that everybody knows now that you did not take the time to personalize. Note that they do give you a little bit of a character limit here. But there's a lot that you can get in 300 words. It's doable. I use this all the time. So just make sure that you are doing this. I've got a couple samples if you're interested. And again, these slides will be sent out afterwards. If you just want sort of a place to start with this. So I've got a couple samples here. These would be like alumni reaching out to alumni. And again, make this your own, tweak it to be what you need it to be. So things that I think are really good about this sample are they immediately mention the connection, whether that's through the University of Richmond or some other connection, right? Like maybe you're involved in the same professional development organization. Maybe you have, you're interested in their industry and they, and that's why you want to talk to them. Whatever that is, mention the connection. It's polite and professional. It's to the point. It shows that they have a genuine interest. And they have looked into the person a little bit, and it tells them what they're asking for. So for some general advice or information, right? So this sort of takes all the marks. I will say that with connecting with people, if one of your main purposes here is to do some informational interviews, maybe you're career switching and you're trying to get some industry info from people and you're connecting to new folks. One thing that you should think about doing here with the connection requests that you send out, have sort of your standard boilerplate message that you would send out if you're asking for the same thing. So if you're asking for an informational interview because you want to learn more about what they do, have your standard message that you send out and tweak that and change it to make sure that it fits the specific person that you're reaching out to when you do that. This, again, work smarter, not harder for yourself here. So you don't have to sit down and every time you send a connection, remember what you wrote last time, retype everything. You just have that ready to go and you can change it to what you need to change it to. These are a couple good samples of If you, again, like if you're a student on here, because I know I get a lot of different folks on my webinars, these would be good sample connection requests. Like if you are a student reaching out to an alum who maybe you met at some kind of virtual event or found them through, the search tool. And so again, these sort of hit all the marks for what we were talking about before. It introduces themselves, it establishes a connection and rapport, tells them specifically what they're interested in. So it makes an ask of that person. Because again, make sure that you're specific with that so the other person knows how they can help you. And I think you're much more likely to get a response that way. Last slide in this section, because as usual, we're going to hit the mark on our time today. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly here with, connecting with people and engaging, keeping in touch with them, because hopefully this is a platform that you can use to not only meet new people, but, but stay connected and engaged with them and really have that be a much more meaningful and a much more long-term relationship, right? Because hopefully that's the whole goal of this. So really you can, and I get this question a lot, who can I connect with? A lot of people, right? Think about all of the people in your life that serve different purposes. Sometimes even family members, depending on what they do, if they can be helpful in your professional pursuits. My rule of thumb personally, and I hope you take this to heart, is if you've met folks at professional events, whether that was virtual or not, send that connection request if you want to connect with them. Send it within 24 to 48 hours, because I don't know about you guys, but my memory, it sort of comes and goes lately. And so just as making sure that you're getting that done off your list, but it also helps that other person who's getting that connection request, because then they are more likely to, you're going to be fresher in their memory, so they remember. So just go ahead and send that, within a day or two. Other ways that you can engage with folks is that you can follow companies. So when we were looking a couple slides ago at the Dominion page, there was a blue follow button there. Click that. It'll take you 2 seconds. Especially if you were job searching and you have applied to that company. I have heard from recruiters before that they might very well look and see, are you following their company? Because this allows you to stay up to date with their news, things that are going on. So this is going to be helpful not only to you when you're doing the application and interview process with them, but it shows, again, that recruiter on LinkedIn that you are interested in, you're engaging with their organization. You can join groups and join discussion threads and start to brand yourself as somebody who's really interested in a particular subject matter, especially if you're out there trying to learn about industries. The other thing too here, the last thing that I will share is, checking your homepage and newsfeed regularly. And I'm not talking about being a super user, because I don't think that, you don't have to be on here and active every day unless you really want to. I think I'm on there like once a week or so, and I just sort of check my notifications tab and look for any sort of work anniversaries or birthdays, or especially new job alerts, and just sending a really quick congratulatory note that'll probably take you 30 seconds to rate. Like, hey, I saw that you got a new job at so-and-so and really excited for you. Hope this is a really good adventure, right? And also just check your newsfeed to like, comment, share for the people that are in your network. And this really helps you to stay, top of mind for them. So if and when you do go to ask them for, say, a favor, maybe you would like an introduction to somebody that they know, they're more likely to be receiving of that and to follow through with it if you have engaged them in some really meaningful, but, not arduous ways. So I think we do have time for some questions. If we have any, I'm going to grab a sip of water, and if you guys have any burning questions, go ahead and pop them in that Q&A. Okay, so I don't see any questions right now. I've got a couple more slides for you, and I'm going to try really hard to wrap up by 1, but we might go over a few minutes. It's just that there's so much content to get to. So the next part that I'm going to focus on is the job search piece, right? Because there's kind of a lot to go with this. LinkedIn really has tried really hard to make this a much more robust place. And so I'm going to go back and do some more demos here in just a second. But one question that I get all the time is, do recruiters actually look at my application if I apply on LinkedIn? Yes, they do. Many recruiters really like using LinkedIn because in terms of the functionality for them as trying to source candidates, it's a really intuitive and useful website for them. You know, in the world of a recruiter, they have so many options in terms of like where they can post a job and how they can source candidates. And they really like LinkedIn for a lot of features that they get. So yes, they really do use it. They really do look at applications that come through on LinkedIn. So it is definitely a viable job search option for you as a seeker. The box that I have over here on the right, this pertains to the open to button. I get this question a lot too. LinkedIn, I really like this feature of them actually. And when I was job searching heavily a few years ago, I used this a lot. This is part of the free version of LinkedIn. You don't have to be a premium user to use it. All you have to do is go to your profile. And I think it's it's right under your tagline there's a blue button that says open to. And you can click on it, and this is the box that you will get that pulls up. You can be specific here in terms of what you're looking for. And I love that they've added that you're open to remote work. So if that's something that you're looking for, you can add job titles in there of things, so if you're looking specifically for like HR generalist or HR coordinator or whatever, you can pop some of those titles in. So it's going to make your job search recommendations a little bit more tailored to you, right? And you can also be specific with the start date. The thing that I really love is you can choose who sees that you're open, because this is the question that comes up the most, I think, is this going to send a blast to my entire network? It will not unless you want it to, right? Most job seekers are not really interested in making this a public service announcement. And so you can choose recruiters only down there at the bottom when you that last option there. Or if you really want to let everybody know and that you are open to work, which some people do, you can choose that option, and it's going to put like a little banner around your face in your profile picture and just say that you're open to work. So I think this is a really great option here for those that are job seeking, because even if you choose to have it only to recruiters, what this is going to do for you in terms of the recruiter world is, like, say if they're looking to fill a certain role within the organization and they've got keywords, if you meet their criteria and you pop up in their search, if you're open to work and you let recruiters know, it's going to help your profile pop up sooner in their search criteria, right? So this is just going to help them to be able to source you faster. And so I'm going to navigate over here. We'll look at the jobs tab really quickly, because there's a few things that I just wanted to alert you guys to. So let's just say that we're going to look for an HR generalist role in the Richmond area. The thing that I wanted to point your attention to here was a couple things. Use these filters for yourself. This is really going to help you get results that you're more interested in. And so you can look for experience level, which I really love. So if you're newer in the industry, or if you're a career switcher, entry level might be really good for you to take a look at. You can look for remote roles. You can look for those that are easy apply, or you can just see all of the other filters that they offer you, right? So I definitely recommend taking advantage of this. I think this is a really helpful feature. So, and the other question I get a lot is the quick apply. So should you quick apply or not? You'll see that on pretty much all job postings on LinkedIn. So what I would say with this is, first of all, make sure that your profile is up to date, because if you do the quick apply, that's going to send your application into that recruiter that's managing that job posting. So make sure that your profile is up to date. It's got the information that they need, the skills that you have listed on there that they need to know about. The other thing that I say too, generally speaking, when you are job searching on LinkedIn, is just to make sure that when you find postings that you want to apply for on LinkedIn, just this isn't to take you a long time, maybe 5 minutes. Just cross-reference that posting on the company site, or just maybe by calling HR at that organization and just checking to see if it's still actively taking applications. Because there are times this does happen, unfortunately, sometimes, where you might find a job posting on LinkedIn, but maybe it's actually closed. Maybe they've just closed it and they've sort of forgotten to update LinkedIn. Because again, in the world of a recruiter, they can use so many different sites to manage their job postings. And they might have jobs listed on 5 different websites, including LinkedIn. And maybe it's just a situation where they haven't gotten to take it off of LinkedIn. So just do a little cross-reference. Just take a few minutes to make sure that it's still open and taking applications, because there's nothing more disappointing than applying to a job, waiting to hear back, and then realizing that it was actually closed when you applied for it. So just do a little due diligence there. So there's a few things. So the first one is interview prep. Oops, sorry. Interview prep is a really cool feature. And again, this is not a LinkedIn premium feature. So you can, if you go to the jobs tab, I don't pay for premium right now. And so this is something that I can access for free. If you go to jobs, you hit the more button, and then you hit the interview prep, this is what you're going to get. So cool. I love this feature. So if you are actively interviewing, or if you know that you're going to be preparing for some, use this and play around with it, right? Like, there's no harm, no foul. It's not going to blast your information on your profile. It's just a chance for you to practice. And so this takes you through some really common interview questions. And not only can you look and see some sample answers, which is awesome. So I could play this video, even though it says premium next to it. I don't know why, but I'm not going to question it. And you can see the written version of the answer. So not only does it give you an example of a good answer to these questions, but it also tells you about framework, like how should you frame your answer to this. If you really want to get crazy, you can practice and get feedback. You can either record a video of yourself and AI gives you some feedback, or you can write a response. I think this is such a cool feature. I hope that you guys play around with it a little bit and use it. I think it's just, they added it, I think last year, which was really neat. So there's that one. A couple other things under the more tab here. The resume builder, which you can certainly play around with if you want to. I would probably recommend that you upload your resume instead of creating it from the profile, because I haven't messed around with the create from profile yet to see what it would actually look like for you, because it might end up being not the version that you would want to put out there. And the last thing here is application settings. This is interesting. So when you're using LinkedIn for a job search, you can upload different resumes, and I would recommend that if you're going to do this, upload a few different versions, because I think this is what sources, when you do the quick apply, this is what sources your resume from that. And you can save and manage. You can turn this off or on. If there are certain answers that you have to application questions, you can sort of save that as well. The last thing, I know I'm sort of flying through information, but the last thing I want to show you here is that LinkedIn Learning that I mentioned really briefly earlier. So this is actually free for University of Richmond students and staff. Otherwise, I'm sorry, it is a premium, LinkedIn premium feature that they do have. But if you either have premium or, and this is the thing where you could get premium for a free trial and sort of play around with this and see, do you like LinkedIn Learning enough to actually use it? You can browse a host, hundreds of learning tutorials and videos. You can keep track of the courses you've taken. So you have a good history there. And I just think this is really cool, right? So you can do career development stuff. And honestly, sometimes this is how I keep up to date with information that recruiters are sharing about career development and professional development. So take a look through a lot of these categories and see if anything pops up for you. If you are a University of Richmond student or staff member, you just use your single sign-on to access that, and I think it's a really cool thing to play around with. So that's all the content that I have for you. I do see that I have a few questions, which I appreciate. So we will get to. It looks like we might go over a few minutes. So if you need to scoot for scheduling purposes, please feel free to. Again, this is being recorded. And I will send out the slides later so you can have them. So we'll get to some questions. The first question says, are there any rules for when to accept a connection? Sometimes people reach out who have very different connections, distant connections, and I'm not sure what to do. That's totally, yeah, I don't think that there are any rules necessarily with that in terms of LinkedIn. If you had looked at my pending requests, like I have a few pending requests in there that I've just sort of let sit because I don't really know what to do with them, right? Maybe I don't really know the person or I don't remember the person. And so I don't think that there's any rules. I think that the rule is kind of whatever you need it to be. Personally, I'd probably just recommend, if it's really distant and you're just not ready to connect with them, don't force yourself to. I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Somebody says, when toggling open to work, this would also be accessible to current employer though. So with the open to work, if you choose for only recruiters to view it, if your organization that you work for, if their HR department uses LinkedIn as a way to source candidates, depending on the role that they're hiring for, like if you would match that criteria, there is a chance, I would guess, that they could probably see that. So hopefully that's helpful, because that is the way that it works. And again, it just depends on if the HR department for your specific organization uses LinkedIn as a way to source candidates. Let's see, last question so far. If there are any other burning questions, feel free to pop them in there. What is the difference between Easy Apply and other? So again, I think so Easy Apply, I think I've done that before in the past. Easy Apply, just it automatically sends. So when recruiters use LinkedIn for sourcing candidates and managing applications, they have an inbox for the applications that they receive. And so the Easy Apply, what it would do is it would just send basically your profile information to the inbox of that recruiter, right? So like there's no additional documents that you submit or anything like that, like versus like, for example, so versus if you were to go to that company's website and apply through their application portal, in that instance versus Easy Apply, like if using the portal, you would have the opportunity to upload resumes, cover letters, supplemental documents, things like that. Whereas on LinkedIn, they're really just going to be viewing your profile information and sort of making an initial determination based on that, like whether or not they're going to pursue you as a candidate. So I hope that's a helpful answer. So thank you for joining me. We will go ahead and wrap things up today. Appreciate it. Again, like I said, if you have follow-up questions or if you want to schedule an appointment, my email is there. You can feel free to please reach out to me, chat. I would love to chat and help you with whatever part of this journey that you're on. So again, the next session that I have is next Tuesday, the 16th at 12. Yes, the presentation will be sent out afterwards. And that is going to be covering networking. That's going to be more of a broad take on networking. We did talk about some specific things with LinkedIn today, but we will be talking about other networking opportunities, and especially in this still virtual world that we are living in for we don't know how much longer. So please do join me for that if you are interested. And again, I appreciate it and hope you all have a really wonderful day.